sharp. Would everyone please stand with me and we'll have a prayer and pledge of allegiance. Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful winter day, and thanks for bringing us together here as we start the new year 2022. We just lift up each of these agenda items to you, pray for wisdom and guidance in making the decisions that shape the future of this county. We thank you for those that work for and serve the county. We thank you for the taxpayers. We thank you for the business people and all of the citizens. We just pray your continued blessing upon our community. We thank you for the financial strength of the county, and we just pray that you would give us decision-making ability to continue that. We pray for our first responders. We pray for our servicemen and women abroad, that you would ultimately bring them home safely. We pray for our statewide legislators and administrators, as well as our administrators at the national level, Father, that you would give them the wisdom and guidance that they need to make the decisions. We just pray for peace and harmony within this great country, Father. We pray that just the continued animosity would come to an end. Father, right now I just lift up this agenda to you and pray for pray that you would just provide us a wonderful outcome today. In Christ's name we ask it all. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, for the record, today is January 10th, 2022. We start off a new calendar year anyway, and we'll begin that with item number 1, opportunity for public comments. In accordance with our Open Meetings Act, you may speak on any agenda item as we get to it. Any general comments at this time? Then I will move on and ask for the court to consider approval of minutes from our Thursday, December 23rd meeting, our final meeting of 2021. Motion to approve that set of minutes is made by Commissioner Parchman. Second by Commissioner Parker. Any discussion, comments? All in favor of approval of that set of minutes, say aye. Aye. Item number 3, report from commissioners regarding roadwork status that they're currently engaged in. Commissioner Precinct 1, I'll start with you.
Well, after all my guys that come back from the holidays, we've just mostly been servicing our equipment, changing oil, greasing, changing air filters and all that kind of stuff on our dump trucks and backhoes and anything we got.
All right, thank you.
All right, Precinct 2, we burnt both our brush piles from trees that had been downed, and we've been finished servicing our drivable regular trucks and vehicles, and now we've started on the heavy equipment. We patched County Road 2670 and 2400. We put in a culvert on 1240. We came up here one morning and helped move some office equipment around and some desks and things for the auditor's office. And also, it was time to renew everybody's background checks for the federal motor carriers clearinghouse for the clear driver's records for all our CDL drivers, and everybody passed with flying colors, and we got that report done up for another year. And I heard from Architects Council of Governments last week, and Commissioner Parker had heard from them before when they started this deal that 5 counties in our area were going to get new plotters for the vinyl lettering so we can make sign machines, what we call it, and the hardware that goes with it, software, and they're going to come train us on it. So that machine should be delivered anytime, probably this week, and that's going to be exciting.
Where does that stuff stay?
We keep it at the maintenance warehouse. We have our own office in there that has a desk and some work tables in there where we can keep all the vinyl, and we keep the blank signs in there to make signs. Also heard from TxDOT last Friday, that the Hart Creek Bridge will open back up to public traffic in February. So they're almost done with that project. We're excited about that.
All right.
Well, we've been changing oil and stuff in all the equipment, trying to get it all prepared for this this coming spring and everything. And we've been getting dead trees outside the highway, and they won't follow nobody. And been cleaning up there until we get ready. And we'll start patching them again tomorrow and the next day. So we're going to start back.
All right.
We've been patching, and had some trees that we needed to get down that when they come through with the tri-suds right away in front of some houses over on 4240, I guess they cut the tap roots or whatever on the trees. So they were on our right of way, and they were beginning to fall now. So we went over and took several of them down last week. Still got another one or two, but bucket truck went down on us, so we're having to get it fixed and hopefully get it going. I did check with Bowie Cast. They at one time had said that they possibly have a bucket truck that they could give us when they swap some out. Talked to one of the board members, and he told me that he was going to talk to the head guy down there and see what they had, if they had anything, but said it was taking anywhere from 2 to 3 years to get a new truck in when they ordered. So, and he wasn't for sure what they had or anything, but he was going to try to check on it and let me know. So I hadn't heard anything from that, but hopefully we can work out something maybe with another, get us another bucket truck. And so still working on that, but just patching in that. And I had one guy that was out last week with COVID, no symptoms or anything, but he did test positive, so he was off the biggest part of the week last week. So he's back today, and everything's going good. So.
All right, thank you. Item number 4, that time of the year where we hear the findings from Arnold, Walker, and Arnold regarding the annual audit for the year ended September 30, 2021. Welcome, Lanny Walker from Arnold Walker, and we appreciate once again you providing us with audit services for the year. And I know you're here to give us highlights so that we can consider and approve this report for the year.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you guys for allowing us to do this work for you again. We appreciate the relationship. The opportunity to do this. We like to do our hometown stuff, so we appreciate it. I think that you'll find if you've had a chance to look at your report, I think you probably already knew this, but I've got lots of good news to tell you today, I think. To do some financial highlights first. Let me just tell you that you have an unmodified report or a clean opinion. These financial statements are fairly stated. The statements that Barbara and the auditor's office do for y'all are really good. Gives you good information to use in carrying out your budget each year. So if you've got your report, if you'd like to turn over to page 15 inside the report there. I'm going to talk about the balance sheet for the governmental funds, and this is a budgetary type presentation where we show the fund balance and the assets and liabilities on a governmental type basis. First column, of course, is the general fund, and this audit, of course, is as of September 30th of 21. Ended the year with almost $8.8 million cash in the bank in the general fund. That's an increase of about $3 million, and we'll look at why that occurred in just a moment. The fund balance, which is just the difference between assets and liabilities, fund balance in the general fund is $8.6 million, so that's an increase of $2.8 million over the previous year. The major special revenue fund, what that is the American Relief Plan grant money that you guys received. And of course, it's about a little less than $3.2 million, and of course, that's not really a fund balance. It's unearned revenue until we spend it. And so there's no effect on the fund balance, but of course, you've got it sitting there in cash. The major capital projects fund is the highway right-of-way fund, and that's down about $250,000, but you got $3.4 million in cash there. Of course, we began that project this year. We hired a firm to begin working on that, and I guess maybe this year a lot of that highway right-of-way out on the Chapel Hill Road will be purchased and done. So the other funds, and there's statements back in the back that you can look to what all these other funds are. And of course, that's where the road and bridge funds are that you guys are concerned about, and some other funds. And the fund balance in those funds was $1.92 million, and that's an increase of $83,000. There was just a couple of funds that went up. The jury fund went up $39,000. County clerk archive went up by $31,000. And those are the two that changed the most in those funds. So very, very good financial position, very strong position. If you look over on page 18 and 19, we'll talk a little bit about the general fund. You can see there that we had an increase in fund balance of just under $2.8 million. And basic reasons for that, there's 5 or 6 of them, and I'll highlight those for you. Property tax revenue was up $300,000 in the general fund. Sales tax revenue was up $382,000, which continues to astonish me. That sales tax continues to go up. The charges for services was up about $400,000. The federal inmate money, prisoner housing from the federal government, went up by $350,000. And then the rest of those charges for services increases were just county clerk, district clerk, JP, just more fees than the previous year. So our revenue was $11.9 million, which is an increase of $1.3 million over the previous year. And the only thing I'll really say about expenditures is that you had $9.97 million in expenditures, and that was a decrease of $64,000 compared to the prior year. And then another thing that significantly affected the general fund, a couple of things. There was coronavirus fund money, a grant money that came in. That was about $680,000. It was transferred over to the general fund. Basically, was used to reimburse the county for some salaries from the previous year to deal with the COVID issue. And so that's what most of that was. And then also, we've been trying to decrease the insurance fund. We have a self-funded insurance fund where money was set aside in previous years. And y'all were able to transfer $640,000 back to the general fund from that insurance fund this year. So, those things affected us as well. And so very nice increase, very good, strong financial condition in the general fund. Again, those other funds, I don't have a whole lot to say. I didn't mention a while ago the debt service fund. We've got about $5.6 million in fund balance there to pay on the debts on the principal interest as they come due each year on our bonds. So anyway, I think financially we're really strong, and I wanted to say that I think every year we also audit the various offices that collect fees in the county, such as the district clerk, county clerk, JPs, county attorney, sheriff collects a few, and I believe that all those offices are in better shape now than I can recall. We didn't have any problems on any of those departments. Barbara's office is reviewing those now and checking up on those, so those are in great shape. And again, the finances are strong. Don't have any internal control findings to tell you about. Nothing, no weaknesses to report. We've got good internal controls. We got more than one person involved in all these steps that it needs to be for depositing funds, dispersing funds, and so top notch. Very good year. So any questions, I'll try to answer.
Yeah, it was a unique year with all those things hitting, and just, I hate to call it an artificially high fund balance, but it is it's not that we didn't spend nearly as much as we
Right.
produced in revenue, but those different sources that, for the
Yes.
most part, that are one time. What do we have left, if any, in the insurance fund, and why should we continue to hang on to anything in there at this point?
If you would look over on page 63, it gives you a breakdown on what's in that insurance fund. Ended the year with $546,000 left still in cash in that fund and some receivables. So we had a net position or fund balance, if you will, of about $580,000. I don't see a need for all of that to continue to be in there. If you wanted to transfer some money out, some more of that out, I don't see a problem with it, because it's been, it's been a self-funded deal anyway.
And that money was just left there if there was any carryover expenses that
Yes.
came in after we closed out that self-funded plan.
right.
It's been 2 years.
Yes.
Any reason to continue to hang on to money in that fund?
The only reason that I'm aware of is if we were to have a sudden increase from TAC and what our employee insurance were to cost, we could partially fund it with that for a few months until we made a decision as to what to do. But at the end of the day, it all comes out of general fund.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that is a good point. I suppose we could leave that there, and we're going to have increases, I'm sure. I don't know how we're running this year, but increases are bound to come. We had, a fairly small increase this past year. Again, just so it comes from you, tell us about the nature of our debt. What debt, there is no debt other than what we owe on the loop.
That's right.
Fair statement?
That's a fair statement, yes. Mhm.
And that debt is for the most part, is paid for, or at least the debt service is paid for with receipts, semi-annual receipts from the state of Texas. It
Right.
doesn't cover all of it, but our tax rate was adjusted years ago to be able to handle the additional monies that are required.
Right.
We pay on our debt a little bit more than we bring in from the state of Texas in
Right.
reimbursement, but
Right.
that number has come down over the years as we've been able to refinance our bonds and get that differential a little bit smaller. But I haven't heard anybody using that attack in a long time that the county has got so much debt. Well,
Right.
the county doesn't have any debt other than what is backed by
That's
the
right.
full faith and credit of the state of Texas to reimburse us
Yeah.
to go towards that
Yeah.
payment. And we've got, what do we have, 8 years left
Yeah. And
to pay on that?
yeah, and the total at the end of the year, total principal due is about $105 million, and that is all. I mean, if you wanted to look at on page 37, gives you a breakdown on all those, and those are all having to do with those bonds for the loop, and their annual requirements are about $10 million, and state pays $8.4 million of it to us, and then you set aside some of your tax revenue through the debt service tax rate to pay for the other part. So, I mean, most of that, over 80% of it's covered by the state.
And those interest rates that we're paying range anywhere from 2% to 5%, with the
That's
bulk
right.
of that being below 3 1/4.
Yes.
And I think that was all that I was going to comment on. And again, that big chunk of money that we received, somebody asked me about that, and no, that's not included in our fund balance. That ARP money that we've got,
Right. It's not.
$3+ million, that's not part of that $8 million.
It is
in
not,
fund
no.
balance.
No. It's a separate
not
fund, and
reported
it's
there.
unearned revenue until we begin to spend it. And then we'll recognize revenue to the extent of the expenses each year. So it never will affect fund balance.
As far as I know, I think that's also a fair statement. We've never had a fund balance in excess. I don't think we've ever had a fund balance. Have we ever had gone above $6 million? I know we haven't gone above $7 million. Here we are at $8 million.
Yeah, not to my recollection.
Guys, do you have any questions for Lanny? Any comments?
Appreciate what y'all do for us, Lanny.
Thank you so much.
Report. Excited
you.
about that.
Yeah, these are the easy ones.
Yes, they are.
All right. If you have no other comments or questions, I would like a motion approving the annual audit for the year ended September 2021.
Make a motion.
Motion is made by Commissioner Applewhite to accept the audited financial statements. Second by Commissioner Parker. Last chance, comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. Thank you again.
Thank you guys very much.
Appreciate
you. Thank you, Lanny.
Y'all were so fast this year, I hardly knew you were here. Item number 5, consider and possibly approve the second amended interlocal agreement with Camp County related to the district attorney's staff for fiscal year 2022. And I think I gave you all, everyone, a handout on that. Barbara, I'm going to let you lead that discussion and tell us what changes have been made, but it is time to, and that's something we'll do annually, isn't it?
Judge Lee sent y'all a copy of that, and I sent you one too, in the information I sent to you last week. This comes from District Attorney David Cawley. He has met with Camp County. You recall last year the maximum amount Camp County would pay was $50,000. That's 30% of the total cost. So this increase is to cover the salary increases that were given to those departments. And it starts January 1st. My understanding is that Camp County has already approved. I don't know if they've officially approved it, but they do have an agreement to approve it. So this is just a matter of getting this approved so we can move forward and increase the amount that they pay to us to cover those additional costs for salaries.
So it went again from 50 to 52.8?
Yes, sir.
Camp County has agreed to contribute up to $52,836.30 annually. Again, that is increased from $50,000. And if you'll recall, like Barbara said, that was an agreement that we made when all the changes were being made in the district attorney's office. He requested hiring additional staff. Of course, we've got them in a new, much bigger and nicer and more modernized office suite over there. We have a district attorney and an assistant district attorney and a couple of staffers to support the work that they do. And we're grateful for the contribution here from Camp County. Of course, that means our contribution as well increased.
Judge Lee, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I didn't have anything else.
I do want to point out, this is not money that they send us automatically. We have to bill them monthly for actual payroll costs.
It's based on actual, not just a lump sum.
Yes, sir.
Each month, Titus County will deliver to Camp County an invoice for the portion of the funds requested, which will detail Camp County's portion of the expenses incurred in that regard. Said invoice may be delivered by email to the Camp County auditor. The portion of funds requested from Camp will be 30% of the total employee and staff-related expenses. This is based on a pre-agreed 30-70 split between Camp and Titus, derived from a calculation comparing court time and docket size between the two counties. And so this is about a 10 bullet point agreement that will continue to be approved each year, and we'll probably continue to see those dollar amounts adjusted that we can draw up to that amount. And as far as the 30-70 split, that'll continue until there's evidence to show that ratio is different. So this does need a signature from both the Camp County judge and myself. So if you have any questions for me or for Barbara, please ask. Otherwise, I would appreciate your approval of this second amended interlocal agreement between Camp and Titus. Again, all related to the office of the district attorney.
Make a motion we approve.
Motion for approval of this agreement is made by Commissioner Parker.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Applewhite. Any comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Do you want me to get this to you or to Kent County? Okay, I'm going to sign this here. Item number 6, consider and possibly approve the Carolina Way subdivision. This is a subdivision at the north end of Lake Tankersley. It's in Precinct 1. And I've given each of you the full-size plat for you to take a look at as I'm kind of describing some of the things that I wanted to tell you about this. This is about a 35-acre development. There is some waterfront property here that comprises about 6 different lots. It is surrounded, or it is fronted by County Road 1130. This new subdivision is entered into off of 1734. If you can kind of picture where that is, I'd call it kind of the central point of the north end of Lake Tankersley. And Lance Henson, a local attorney, is the developer on this. This is land that he and his brother had inherited, and they have had this platted. They've done some road work here. There is a major new road that goes through the center of this development. This has been looked at and reviewed by Clint Bain. Clint's not here this morning, but he's given a nice detailed report. So I want to kind of go over the highlights of his report and tell you what some of his comments were. Also, did I give you all one? No, I didn't give you one with the pink on it. Let me hand you these so that you can see better when I tell you about the comments here from Clint Bain. Just as a review, several years ago, the court decided to strengthen our ability to give some guidance and have some control over subdivisions that were developed within the county. And some of the primary things that we were looking for, or that we wanted to prevent subdivisions occurring when a buyer might think that they had property that could be subdivided for housing. We wanted to make sure that electricity and power could be provided to that subdivision. We wanted to make sure that water supply was available, not necessarily free, not necessarily already there, but it could be provided either by the city of Mount Pleasant or by Tri-Water. We wanted to make sure that the lots were adequately sized, and the court decided to utilize 1 acre as the minimum size of a lot in a subdivision. That was 2 times what the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality accepted, which was 0.5 acres. And with the 1 acre, that gave us some latitude in certain circumstances to go somewhat less than that. One of the major things was also if a road was required to be built into the subdivision to provide access to each of the lots, we wanted it to be built up to county standards. Even if it was going to be a private road, we wanted to maintain the ability to make specific requirements as to the quality of that road. And then we, of course, wanted to make sure that the lots were all suitable for on-site sewage, because more than likely anything in the county was going to have to be served, at least from a sewage standpoint, by a septic system. And Clint Bain, as you know, usually provides us with commentary giving his assessment of the development. So while you're looking there at that small copy there with the pink, I'm going to read through what he has to say. I have reviewed the on-site sewage plan completed by George Sanford for the Carolina Way subdivision. This property is being developed by Lance Henson. It will consist of 28 lots, each over the minimum size of 1 acre, and it takes up 32.42 acres, including the proposed new road. Mr. Sanford's reports meets the requirements and documents that soil in the proposed subdivision is not suitable for standard subsurface disposal of sewage, and therefore on-site sewage systems with secondary treatment and surface application, low-pressure dosing with secondary treatment, or other non-standard OSSF will be required. And that's typical of what we find. We're getting away from those older forms of just above-ground disposal of sewage, and we're going with the more modern. You have the septic systems, you have the spray pressure heads that go along with that, and that's what's going to be utilized in this particular subdivision. I have not seen a preliminary survey plat for the proposed subdivision, only a miniaturized survey from John Denny. Well, at the time he wrote this, that was the case. Today we have that large copy that I've given to you there. He has 4 concerns that I want to go over here with you. My first concern is at the entrance to the property. So if you look there at the north end, you've got a circle there. And if you'll look there just to the left of that new zigzag road, you will see a little small number 12 marked there right in the middle of that circle. That is not a part of this particular subdivision, but I want you to be aware of this. Entrance is made into this new subdivision via Lot 12 of the Cedar Point Estates Phase 2, which is an unrecorded subdivision plat. In other words, this was done years ago, back before we had any kind of requirements. Lot 12, as it's shown on the appraisal district map, is listed at .69 of an acre. It would be considered an existing small lot in regards to on-site sewage at this time, meaning it would have been grandfathered in because it was prior to our 1 acre requirements. However, once the road entrance to the proposed subdivision is constructed, it will no longer be a viable lot for on-site sewage. In other words, a lot of that lot, as you can see, gets eaten up by the new road that's going into Carolina Way. So you go from already a .7 acre and you're taking up literally over half of that. So it's not going to leave you with enough acreage there to build a house on what would have previously been a grandfathered lot. He says, I would recommend that the remainder of the lot be absorbed by the adjoining property, which is owned by the Billy Henson estate, or be given as common use area to the homeowners association for the proposed subdivision. So again, I'm bringing you that up just because he commented on it. That's not an undersized lot in the proposed subdivision. It's just an undersized lot that becomes especially undersized when we bring the road in, and it's not going to be suitable for any future home to be built there, and they're aware of that. The second point of concern is that a pond located on and across the boundary line of 2 lots. If you look down there in the bottom right quadrant of this piece of paper, you'll see a little spot there that covers one lot that's sized 1.338 and another one 1.457. So that circle there is a pond. This pond, based on how it is situated on the 2 lots, reduces the area of usable property in regards to on-site sewage. I think that at the time he was looking at that, those proposed lot sizes were smaller. The size of those lots has been increased to make sure that with those ponds, with that pond there, that they each still yield well in excess of the necessary usable acreage, which is 1 acre. So you can see if he's got 1 1/3 and then almost 1 1/2 in the other lot, that pond does eat up some of that usable acreage, but they're still above the minimum of 1 acre. The third point of concern is that one of the waterfront lots listed as 1.030 acres, which takes in over half of the existing cul-de-sac at the end of County Road 1130. So that's going to be there at the bottom of your page with a circle around it. And that dotted line there represents the existing cul-de-sac. It's a pretty small cul-de-sac if you've ever been around there. It's not good for a whole lot. You can barely get just a sedan to drive around there. It's not suitable for larger emergency vehicles. But with that 1.030 acre lot, obviously if that much of it was dedicated to that cul-de-sac, you would not net out 1.030 acres. The developer, Mr. Henson's response to that is his intention is to eliminate that cul-de-sac. That cul-de-sac is on his property there. And so what was once a cul-de-sac that might have been used as a turnaround for anybody coming to the end there is somewhat, if you lose that cul-de-sac, part of that problem is alleviated by the fact that you've got a brand new road that you can use to cut up straight north on that Carolina Way road as opposed to turning around in that cul-de-sac. So he does not intend to increase the size of that cul-de-sac, but instead he intends to eliminate that cul-de-sac for that lot that is sized at 1.030 acres. So continuing on with Bain's comments, he says, this will reduce the property to less than 1 acre of usable property, and it causes me to suspicion that the survey was measured to the original property line markers that are possibly located in the center of the road, therefore reducing the size of the proposed lots with the frontage road 1130 to less than that 1 acre. So that remains to be seen. He knows he's got to have at least 1 acre there to be approved for that on-site sewage plant for that particular lot. So either that cul-de-sac is going to have to be eliminated or that lot's not going to be usable as a buildable site. You'll see there just below that pink circle a little lot there that is not part of this subdivision that I can't remember which one of the Hensons that belongs to, but that's a grandfathered in lot that don't know if that will ever be built on, but that lot would be accessed by the existing County Road 1130, whether that cul-de-sac remains or not. The fourth concern is in regards to the new road's intersection with County Road 1130. I guess of all these, this is the one that I'm also concerned about, and I don't know what the I don't know if it's beyond our scope or not. But if you'll look there at the south end of that new road where it comes in and it intersects down there at the bottom with the existing County Road 1130. And if you'll picture here large vehicles, let's say a fire truck or a moving van or a commercial truck that's coming to deliver building supplies. Once they enter off of 1734, as you can see, there's not a lot of options for them to get out of there other than to back up or possibly turn into somebody's driveway and make a U-turn and go back out. Because if you come all the way down that new road to where it intersects with 1130, there is a limitation as to what size truck could get out of there. Now, he has built that road to our specs, and you do have a 60-foot right-of-way easement, and you've got the adequately sized road there in place. But you're then turning on to a road, 1130 specifically, that was not sized according to our current subdivision requirements. And so you're coming off of a larger, wider road, trying to make a left turn there, probably to exit out of the property, and you really have got a turning radius there that is going to be somewhat of a limitation. I don't know exactly what size truck could or could not get through there, but I do see that as a potential bottleneck there. So here again, here's what he says. The proposed new road is listed as having a 60-foot right-of-way, as it should, but my concern is that if the intersection from it to 1130 is allowed, it will create a bottleneck for large vehicles. In other words, 18-wheeler moving vans, trash trucks, construction equipment, cement trucks, fire trucks, school buses, etc., to have to negotiate through. Probably what is going to end up being done is that any such vehicle will have an easier time coming down 1130 and then turning north onto Carolina Way is probably going to be an easier turn than vice versa. I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are on this connection point to an existing road. I don't believe it is the responsibility of the developer here to make sure that that road is able to accept those large vehicles. So he has done what he's supposed to do on this property, but then where he intersects that down there at the bottom, you do have a potential difficult turn there. So I don't know how that will work out. I don't know that we can require him to do anything different, but he's just bringing this to our attention. Have you got a feel for what you think can make that turn? I haven't studied it enough.
Well, I've been out there with Clint, and actually I met with the guys that were building the road, and it looked pretty decent. I mean, we might be able to expand it a little bit, make that radius a little bit bigger right there, but I haven't been out there since they have completed that road, but I mean, I think there's going to be a little bit of working room right there where we can expand it.
Well, if you look at your bigger plat there, you do have some ability to carve into that north side of 1130 to make that a wider turn if it does become a problem there. But again, that's not the responsibility of the current developer.
Yeah, because that 1130 it is pretty narrow, but I mean, we just have to go look at it and see what we can do. I need to go back out there and check it out, and I think we can come up with a solution on it. So.
Maybe you can test it with one of your big trucks and trailers and see if you can negotiate that turn. I guess I'm probably most concerned. Is it easier to turn off of 1130 onto that big road where you're turning onto that wider road? Would that be a partial solution?
Yes.
Okay.
But I can look at it and see, come up with a solution for it.
Okay, those were the four concerns of Clint Bain that he's bringing to our attention. Everything else has been submitted. There was initially, I don't know if it was an error, there was some measurements that were left off of the set of plats that I was brought last week, and it was brought to my attention that it didn't appear that the width and the length of those lots came out to a full 1 acre. I brought that to Lance's attention on Friday. He got with John Denny, and John Denny explained, well, you're right. I need to give you the actual length of those lots. And so if you'll look there on the bottom right corner, that lot number 17, you can see that the width of that lot is 136.64, and that dimension on the far right was 284.52. Well, when you did the math and multiplied width by length, it yielded somewhat less than 0.9 acres, so we thought we had an error. But as it turns out, that 248 was just a measurement to that square marker there that actually came up before the true corner of the lot. And so the real length of that lot is 320.22, which did work out to be a full 1 acre. So it does appear that all of his acreage measurements are adequate, at least 1 acre, and some are slightly above that. You're pleased with the quality of the road out there? It was built by the Howard brothers, right?
They've done an excellent job building that road, and I'm satisfied with what they've done.
All right. Well, since this is in your precinct and you're probably the most familiar of this road of all of us, what's your recommendation? Do you have any questions, concerns? You feel like he's in compliance? Should we approve this?
I feel like it's gonna be real nice. I think we could just go ahead and approve it, and these minor adjustments right on that entryway, I don't think that's gonna be very hard at all to fix that. So, I think we should go ahead, as long as all the problems that you have addressed and Clint has addressed on there that get fixed, I have no problem with it.
Okay. Are you aware of any restrictions that he has put together, that he is publishing for potential buyers of these lots? I mean, that's beyond our control, but are you aware of any restrictions like house size and setbacks, anything like that?
No, I'm not. Not to my knowledge, no.
I guess that will be up to him to come up with restrictions that are the most positive or the most advantageous for the property owners there, for the new buyers. All right.
Brian, looking at this little one here that Clint had, it looks to me like they have pulled one of the 1 acre lots out of this, the lower, there was 5 here on this one, and they pulled it out and increased these on this bigger plat here, that one where the cul-de-sac's at to 1.142, and then the one above it's 1.184, and 1.298, and then 1.409.
You know, you're right. I did not see that. Originally, he had them all right at 1 acre, and maybe that was to give some additional waterfront and increase the width of those lots. But you're right. It was previously 5 lots there on that smaller one that were all 1 acre, and now he's gone to 1.4, 1.3, 1.18, and 1.14. So again, I don't know what was the thought there, other than maybe giving them more waterfront, since those are water-facing lots to the west. Okay, anything else that you want to know about this? Commissioner Parchman, what would you like to do here?
I make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
All right, a motion for approval of the Carolina Way subdivision is made by Commissioner Parchman and seconded by Commissioner Fitch. Any other questions, comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, thank you. If I could get those back, gather those back up for me. Okay, item number 7, consider and possibly approve the appointment of John Fitch to serve as the Titus County representative on the Northeast Texas Regional Mobility Authority for a 2-year term beginning February 1 of 2022. If you all will recall, we are members, along with a dozen or so other counties, on the Northeast Texas Regional Mobility Authority. That entity was the primary driving force behind toll highway number 49 around Tyler. They also they also offer opportunities of which we took advantage. We have not received that money yet, but if you'll remember, a few years ago we submitted a project which was the Highway 1735 project, and we were awarded somewhere around $300,000. Now, we have not received that money yet because we have not incurred those expenses yet, but we are quickly approaching our ability to file for that money. Once we can prove that we have spent that money, we are eligible to receive that money from Northeast Texas Regional Mobility Authority. What we are discussing here today is who is going to represent the county. We've had 2 different representatives for the county that span the last dozen or so years. The first one was Hudson Old. The second was Nathan Preford, and Nathan has served on this board for us, and Nathan contacted me a month and a half or so ago and said, I think I'm ready, when February comes around for you to find somebody else. Things are busy at work, and I feel like I've done what I could. And in the meantime, while I was trying to think of who to appoint to this for your approval, Commissioner Fitch approached me and said, hey, Nathan told me that he was wanting to step down, and I'd be willing to do this. This involves a meeting about, is it a monthly meeting or is it every 2 months? Do you know?
Every 2 months or so.
Every 2 months, and they typically meet around the Tyler area. This is a 2-year appointment. This will start here in the next 3 weeks. This is a non-paid position, but it is one that gives us an opportunity to be represented by this Regional Mobility Authority, which is an entity that's created to help promote rural transportation projects in Northeast Texas. And again, they focus most of their attention and money on that Toll 49, but again, we've gotten some benefit from it in that we've got about $300,000 coming, and hopefully we will have other projects to submit to them in the future. If there's anybody else that you want to suggest serve on this board, I think that it's great that we can have somebody from our Commissioners Court to serve on this. And if you're okay with Commissioner Fitch serving as our representative for the next couple of years, this is your opportunity to vote that in, and I'll make that announcement to the net RMA that we have a new representative. They are aware that Nathan is probably not going to want to re-up, and so I will formalize that with an announcement pending your approval today.
There's not any thing that says you can't serve on that, is there?
No. Any of us, myself included, could be on there. I think it's just a matter of a willingness to take the time to do that. And so, again, after
We approve the appointment of John.
all right,
Fitch.
thank you for that motion. And in the future, if anybody else would like to, take a shot at being on there, we can certainly rotate that around. We have a motion from Commissioner Parchman to approve the appointment of John Fitch to serve as our representative for net RMA for a 2-year term starting February 1, 2022.
I'll second.
Okay, what was that? Commissioner Parker seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Fitch, for being willing to do that. Item number 8, consider and possibly approve the purchase of a Link Belt 80X3 excavator, including the attachments, for a total price of $127,728 through the county's cooperative membership with HGAC BUY for Precinct 3. Commissioner Applewhite, what do we need to know about this rather large expenditure?
Well, this machinery will take a lot off using the backhoe and tearing up places where you just get in there and get out and be more flexible on putting in culverts, cleaning out ditches and stuff like that. And so
Is this replacing something, or
No.
is this in addition?
It's an addition. Because you get a backhoe, you can't hardly get in there with a culvert without really messing the driveway up. So, and the culverts, and all the ditches, well, ditch way anyway. So Jimmy's got some machines similar to what I'm looking at, and it's done real good for him. We went over, they brought over to use it one day, and it really made a job look good.
And the Link Belt is the brand?
Yes, sir.
Link Belt.
It's a common name for construction equipment.
All right. right, and Barbara says that you have money to pay for this in your fund balance, is that right? Yes, sir. Good. Commissioners, any questions about this?
It's a good piece of equipment.
You want one too?
I have a great awl, but I'm telling you, this is the future. The great awl is about $400,000. There's no way we'll ever buy another one of those. This is more
It's way too
affordable.
big, too.
Yes, and it's a whole lot easier to learn. It's just get off a backhoe, get right on it. So I really like the machines. So we'll continue to get as much money as work as we can out of our great awl for years to come, hopefully. But yes, I like the equipment. I make a motion we purchase it.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. And Barbara, just to verify, HGAC buy is similar to what I call, in my limited understanding, the buy board. This is an entity that bids these type of pieces of equipment out so that we don't have to go through that bid process. When we buy from them, we already know that we're safely buying at the best price.
Yes, sir. I did confirm that we are members and have been for quite some time. So we've met the purchasing requirement.
All right, so we're safe making this purchase. All right, I have a motion and a second to spend $127,728. All in favor, say aye.
Do we need to get a PO today, or what we need, Barbara? Just come by there and get it today? But, what's his name?
I knew something.
Byron, come by and get the PO or what?
I knew it was there somewhere because I saw it.
We can't do it right away. I've got to set the account.
Yeah.
You can just email it to me if you like, once you get it.
Okay. What is your email? Do we have your email?
Well, I have a card of it.
Okay.
All righty. Item number 10, I want to give you, this is just an update. This is not a action item. I'm going to give you an update on the utility relocation coordination. This comes from David Ivins. David came up once or twice with Gary Luba from Lochner, and David's specialty is the utility relocation. So let me just read to you what David says. I wanted to let you know where we are with the utility coordination process. I previously left you with a standard operating procedure as well as the forms that we are proposing to use. I know that there's been some concern about the overall budget for this project, and he's talking about not only the utility relocation but the purchase of the right-of-way as well. I know it appears that the right-of-way acquisition costs are coming in higher than originally anticipated. I have reviewed the information that I have, and while I cannot make any meaningful estimations of the utility adjustment at this time, I can at least assure you that you will have significant notice of these costs prior to them being payable. The utility reimbursement process is just that, a reimbursement. We will have cost estimates prior to an agreement, the agreement prior to the work being done, and the work done prior to billing. It's unusual for the process to take less than 6 months from the estimate till the time of billing, and I'll keep you informed along the way. As for the overall timeline, the 30% plans are expected shortly after the first of the year, which we will provide to the utilities. However, the 60% plans are generally required by the utilities before they will make any solid plans for adjustment, and those are not due until the 1st of April. So my understanding is we do the best we can to provide the utility companies exactly what we need for them to do as far as moving their water lines or underground cabling or whatever it is. And as their engineers work through the process, those plans become more able to quantify and give a solid bid on. Continuing, we are currently working to schedule a meeting with the representatives of the Atlanta District to work out some of the issues that have not been directly addressed. If you would like to be included in that meeting, let me know. Otherwise, we will keep you informed as things progress. So I just want you to be aware, I can't give you any details at this time. I'm not able to tell you, oh, don't worry, we've got plenty of money in there, although Gary feels like, and David does feel like, we are adequately, we have adequate monies in the bank to take care of what the relocation costs, and they feel like they've got a pretty good idea of what it's going to cost. In other words, they think the major surprises are behind us. We still don't have any dollars that we can look at. Coupling that report, we did have a meeting here, met with Buddy Williams. Buddy is our district engineer that offices out of Atlanta. And this was one of the projects that we talked about. And as it stands now, barring any environmental surprises that come up, this project should be let by the end of the year. I know it just seems like we never can quite get there, but we are moving towards the end of our property acquisition process, fortunately. The utilities have still got to be relocated, and it's not until those utilities are relocated that the actual work that is put in the form of a bid can be let to potential contractors to do that work. So again, more than likely, we're looking at the beginning of next year or a year from now before that project is let and the work begins. So if you were thinking it would be finished this year, it's not. So that's just an update. All right, backing up to the item that I missed here, item number 9, this is an action item. Consider utilizing the vacant office in the northwest corner of the courthouse for the auditor's office personnel with possible action. This is an area that has seen not much use over the last few years. It was most recently used by the auditors. We've had them in there. We had Steve Agan's operation there as Justice of the Peace operating out of there while they were forced out of the JP offices at the Justice Center. So now we have a nice prime northwest corner there, and Barbara is busting at the seams and would like to be able to utilize that space. So kind of tell us what your plans are over the next year or so. This is somewhat of a temporary relocation, but and I think most of these guys all know it, but just to get it on the record, your plans are to do with the northwest corner.
Okay. We'd like to use the northwest corner of the courthouse for our payroll person, Ms. Sharon Reynolds. Payroll is something that, you know, there are lots of minute little details that you have to follow to meet all of the requirements. We would like to do this for 1 year, and then Ms. Preddy is not going to run for re-election. And before the new treasurer comes, I would like to then move Ms. Reynolds from the northwest corner to the southeast corner so that she will then be directly across the hall. The reason I'm requesting this now is because our office is indeed bursting at the seams. If you've been in there, you know how tight we are. So this will give us a little more space. And we also, with the budget last year, we approved a half-time person, and we don't have a place to add. We don't have a place to put a desk if we don't have some more space. So that's my request at this time, to use that space for now and then move down to the current treasurer's office when Ms. Preddy retires. I did not want to ask her to move right here at the end. I didn't feel like that was fair, although I've been told that she would move. I didn't want to put her in that situation. She's been there a long time, and I thought it would be disrespectful to ask her to move, you know, right here towards the end.
Moving Sharon and freeing up a desk in there, will that give you a spot for your part-time person?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
The part-time
And-
person will be within the current office.
Okay. And you'll utilize both segments of that office down there. You've got what I call the vestibule area, and then you've got the main office there. And the plans are, according to what we've discussed, is that door will stay locked at all times, the main entry door. We're replacing the glass that had the slot on it there for the JP's office with a solid piece of frosted glass so that you can't see through there. We're not going to replace the door. That glass will be tempered glass to prevent, somebody smashing that and breaking in. But we'll leave that door locked all the time. We'll put a push-button access doorknob there so that the auditors can come and go there without having to have a key each time. So I don't know of a better use for that corner office down there. This seems very reasonable to me, and I would like you to approve that.
Make a motion to approve it.
Motion is made by Commissioner Applewhite.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Parker. Any comments or discussions? Where will these poor commissioners hang their hat when they come in?
Commissioners are going to hang their hat back across the hall in the area where Constable Durant was. That office was used by auditors. It was a storage place for us. So when we consolidated, we had a little section in my office that had a little microwave and the water and a little refrigerator. So we moved that across the hall to free up some space and we'll have a place for the commissioners as well. They have been gracious enough to sit in that little mail room, and frankly, that little spot back there where they've been sitting, I mean, some of our guys are tall and it's pretty, they've been squeezed as well.
You're going to make me cry, Barbara.
You say tall?
Okay, well, that's good. I think that'll work well, and that'll give us full utilization. I think we will be using every square foot of the courthouse then, and this seems like a very reasonable thing to do.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Item number 11, we're down to our oral and written reports.
Make a motion, we approve.
A motion for approval
Second.
is made by Commissioner Parchman, a second by Commissioner Applewhite. If there's not any discussion, I'll call for all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item number 12, our treasurer's report for your consideration and approval.
Make that motion. Approve it.
Motion by Commissioner Fitch. Second. Second by Commissioner Parker. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Here's your two reports for signature. Next item is 13, approved budget amendments. We have budget amendment number 2022-8. These both have to do with both precincts number 1 and number 3 reallocating some budget funds. Precincts 1 and 3 have significant needs for culverts. The road and bridge budgets have sufficient funds to cover the costs for the new culverts after reallocating funds from other line items. So in Precinct 1, we are pulling $10,000 out of other road materials and putting it into the culverts line budget. And then in Precinct 3, we are pulling $12,000 out of the steel roller rental
That should be 4 on that one.
That should be 4, okay.
Daniel's about to fall out of his chair over here.
Okay.
Make sure my check is
Just 12,000.
All right.
12,000 is correct, right? That's what we talked about.
Yeah.
Precinct.
Okay.
Good catch.
We had leftover funds from what
Take
we
your office.
anticipated spending on the rental of that steel roller, so we're pulling $12,000 of that unnecessary budget line item and putting it into culverts as well. So $10,000 in Precinct 1, $12,000 in Precinct 4. That's not new money, that's just reallocation within their budgets. That's the only thing I've got in the way of budget amendments.
Make that motion.
The motion to approve comes from Commissioner Applewhite.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Fitch. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item number 14, sign pay orders and approve bill payments.
Make a motion, we pay our bill.
Motion by Commissioner Parker,
Second?
second by Commissioner Fitch. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item number 15, closing comments. Just a quick report on COVID. We haven't talked about that in a while, but COVID, as you probably know a half a dozen people or more that have had COVID in the last week or so. The incident rate of COVID in our county has really jumped up in the last couple of weeks. That's the bad news. The good news is it apparently is a much milder strain. It is still wreaking havoc in our hospital. Not so much for the number of people with COVID that are coming, but just the fact that there's a limited number of bed spaces available at the hospital, and even more of a concern is the stress on the staff. You know, much of the staff gets COVID and has to be out for a few days. The availability of state-supplied nurses and other workers is limited, and a major problem is the inability of our hospital, or any other local hospital for that matter, to transfer out the sicker patients, whether they're COVID related or not. And for the most part, the ones that are of concern are not the COVID patients. It's the ones that have significant serious problems, say heart related or otherwise, and need to be sent to a higher level of care facility, and they're unable to do so because every hospital is full, their staffs are stretched. So again, the COVID is considerably more contagious according to our local doctors and Terry Scoggin, but the impact that it is having, especially on those that have had their vaccines and boosters, does not seem to be causing the problems that it was. Not so much a chest issue and a breathing issue as it is a head cold type of issue. I myself had it, my wife had it, I've known quite a few people have had it, and most of the stories are the symptoms are very much the same. It's like a head cold. So again, be mindful and keep our local hospital and their staff in your prayers, because they're back dealing with this. It looks a little bit different than it did 8 months, a year ago, but the net effect and the inability to transfer patients out and the stress that it puts on our staff and our facility is still extremely serious. I told you about the meeting with Buddy Williams. I think that's all that I had. So, Commissioner Parker, any closing comments?
Nothing other than, did you find out anything about, did he give you any timeline on 49 completing the rest of it?
Yes, help me remember. What did he have to say about 49? Oh, are you specifically talking about this right here or the further out on your area?
Yes, further out.
Okay, March is when they're going to be through with that. The further out on 49.
I was going to say February, but
closer
yeah.
in, right at the city limits on in through Delwood Park area, is August when they'll finish that.
Okay. I hope, but you were more concerned with out there in the rural area. He said they're getting close, but he was honest enough to say it would probably be late February, early March, realistically, before that would finish up.
I've got a huge pile of dirt out there where we cleaned out ditches and hauled it over, and we just dump it there at the yard. And the guy come over Thursday, that's the supervisor over the job, and I had talked to one of them a while back, and it's been way back in the early part of the year last year, about they were wanting it to put on the shoulders to kind of a slight slope rather than a drop off the edge of the road. And I told him, I said, y'all can have all that dirt there you want. I said, it's got trash in it. I said, it may have pieces of culvert in it and all that kind of stuff. I said, because when we change a culvert out or something other, I said, if it's tiled, we just kind of bust it up the best we can, and that's where we dump it. he went down and looked at it, and he come back and he said, we can use that. And I said, well, I won't load it for you or anything else, but said, if y'all want it, if you'll bring a loader over here, you can have that, all that pile. Well, they made a pretty good dent in it on Friday, and have got it quite a bit of it out. But I don't know for sure how much more of it they're going to get. But
that's doing a service for you, I assume.
Yes. It's definitely helping me, because we were getting to the point that we were fixing to have to find another place, either clear out some trees a little further over to the west of where that was, and all. We have several times took the maintainer and just kind of drug it out the best we could down where we burn our brush piles and stuff like that. But it was getting to the point that we were fixing to have to do something else, and so they're helping me out tremendously by getting that.
Okay. And you asked me about wrap availability. He is going to look into that and get back with me. As far as he knew, he didn't really know the status on that, and they were going to try to give us more advance warning this year. He couldn't think of any specific projects that there was going to be wrap coming from, but he knew there would be some. So I can't really give you an answer, but he and Deanne are going to look into that.
In the past, we've turned it in August, and then usually by the first middle of October, they give us a timeline, and then and last year then they come in and said that we had to have it in 3 weeks, and
Yeah,
I mean that was
that's
just
no
almost
good.
impossible. And,
Yeah, and I told him that. I'm not even sure he was aware
but
of that.
in the past they had given us up to
6 months.
usually about March. They wanted it all gone by about March, because that's kind of when they start looking at their projects that they're going to do and figuring out where they're going to put this route and whatnot. So, but that was just one of my concerns, was that, because I'd called out and talked to Carl out at TxDOT the other day, and he told me, he said, Jimmy, I'll check on it and get back with you, but I hadn't heard anything back yet. So
We also, along that same line, Tommy Bruce is now the area engineer. He's been moved to Texarkana. So we have a new female here. What was her name? Plugged it into my phone, but
Wendy Starks.
Wendy Stark. So Wendy will be the head woman at our local office, at least for the time being.
I think she come out of the Atlanta office, didn't she?
Marshall.
Don't know.
Or she was out of Marshall. I'm pretty sure she was when I talked to her about something one day.
So she's been dealing with it for since September,
months,
October,
yeah.
so.
Okay, Dana. Commissioner Fitch, any closing comments?
Who made a motion second on number 9?
Dana and me.
Okay.
Number 9 was Dana Applequine, made the motion to depart.
Okay. Just lost track there. Thank you. I'm good. Thank you.
Commissioner Parchman? All right. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Motion? Second.
Who made the motion?
Commissioner Applewhite and Parker, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.